Aerospace engineering has become a very popular field of study and career path. People are interested in aviation or believe in the importance of contributing to their nation's defense, or, let's be real, they want to make a lot of money. One of the things to think about, though, is what the day to day in the field will actually be like and whether or not it fits you well. The journey to the career, the impact you'll make in the career, and what type of lifestyle it will earn you. This is what we will discuss in today's video. But before we get into this, be sure to hit the like button and subscribe to this channel to continue learning more about engineering careers, whether or not they may be the right fit for you. Be sure to stick around to the end of the video to learn about the full scope of possibility of roles you may play in the aerospace industry and which one, if any, could be of interest to you. So let's talk about first the road to get there. So there's really no way, well, for most of the aerospace jobs, the way into it is university. And there are exceptions because there are some more technician roles. This video is more about the role of quote unquote aerospace engineers, meaning the people who went through college to get an aerospace engineering degree and then work some kind of job in the aerospace industry. But so let's talk about just this engineering school. And so, aerospace engineering school, it's not easy. It can be interesting and rewarding for the right kind of person. So, you start off the first 2 years with a lot of high level general calculus and physics and chemistry classes. And then after that, there's a lot of engineering mechanics, control systems, thermal and fluids, electronics. So just think of anything that could potentially be used on like an aircraft or a helicopter or some kind of flying vehicle. And so this is like because aircrafts have a lot of different thermal systems, mostly propulsion, but also they have HVAC systems or cooling systems for the engines, or just a lot of different things, and lots of electronics, lots of instruments of how they navigate to with respect to their destination and such. And you have to learn a lot of this kind of stuff in school in order to apply it later to the aerospace industry. So, tons of equations, learning how to use certain computer programs such as CAD for mechanical design or FEA for the structural analysis of those designs, electronics modeling or systems modeling of kind of a higher level broad systems modeling. So I'd say it gets progressively more interesting as you can utilize what you've learned to solve practical aerospace problems, and especially when you can apply them later to things outside of classes like internships, clubs, and research projects. And by the way, like if you want to work in the aerospace industry, you got to have some of this stuff. It gets really, really hard to land jobs after college if you don't have anything outside of classwork. But that's a different topic that I talk about in other videos. But yeah, I think it's going to start off kind of more tedious with the gen eds, and then progressively, if you're interested in this kind of stuff, it's going to progressively get more interesting as you're able to see it applied in more practical problem solving. So, one thing to point out is that you don't study aerospace engineering and then kind of get molded into this one very specific thing, because the aerospace industry requires many different areas of expertise, because aircraft or launch vehicles or helicopters, like these are pretty complex machinery, as we discussed. There's mechanical components, there's electrical components, there's fluids and thermal control, avionics. All of this stuff has to work together in order to make sure that the structure is structurally sound, make sure that it's not going to get too hot or too cold, to make sure that it can communicate with the ground or with whoever it needs to communicate with. So this is definitely complex structures that you have a lot of different people specializing in the variety of things, and you'll probably find yourself working one of these things. And so There may be some exceptions to working on flying vehicles though, because cars or sailboats have some aerodynamics forces, but I think that's pretty rare to work in something like that. Most likely you're going to be working some kind of area in the aerospace industry specifically. And so that's what I would presume on if you are going to study aerospace engineering and become an aerospace engineer. So just to reiterate the different types of skills or different areas of expertise that could potentially go into aerospace, and feel free to screenshot this and take a look at what each of these different things could possibly be. And so you also have a good number of options, not just in terms of a technical field, but in terms of what would fit your type of lifestyle well. So, do you want to kind of just sit at a computer all day and do analytical, technical work? There's definitely stuff like that there. I mean, most people are probably going to once in a while go out to see whatever vehicle or instrument or assembly that they're actually designing. But there are definitely jobs where you could just sit there and get your mind occupied with all the technical stuff all day if you want to. I would be careful with this because there's also going to be some roles that are more tedious. But do your research on your role to see if whatever you're looking at is going to keep your mind occupied versus if it's just going to be like tedious looking at requirements or data entry or something. But also, like for people who don't want to sit at a desk all day, there are some jobs more in the manufacturing plant. And that's not just technician jobs. I mean, technician jobs, you're going to be on your feet all the time and actually working directly on the assembly. But there's also engineers who have to facilitate the integration and testing or manage the operations going on the floor. And so those are the kind of people who are not going to be spending as much time just sitting at a desk, even though they will kind of be sitting at a desk, but not going to be just all day sitting at a desk, which some people don't like. So some roles are more technical, some of them are more management like what we kind of just discussed with integration and test versus more of the analytical roles. And then there's also stuff like project management, program management. Because one thing that could make your day go by faster is if you're interacting with people a lot. Um, I guess meetings are kind of a double-edged sword in that case because they can be tedious, but if it's the kind of meeting where you're hashing out solutions to problems with other managers or with other areas of engineers, like that's definitely the kind of thing that can be rewarding and make your day go by pretty fast. So think about what would work well for you, what kind of work setup would work well, and find a position that would actually be tailored to that type of thing. And so one thing to note is that a lot of roles are in the defense sector. So there are some roles in sort of more civil or commercial. So for instance, if you work at Boeing on commercial aircraft, or if you work on certain satellite companies on more civil satellites or commercial satellites, like what cable companies might use or what cell phones might use or something like that. So that kind of thing is just going to be civil or commercial. But at least depending on what country you work in, I know the US, there's going to be a lot of defense roles, and it's going to be some classified work where you might have to have a security clearance or it helps you get the job because it helps you stand out. So that's one thing to think about because, and let's just say this, that the vast majority of US citizens, for instance, in the US are going to be able to get US security clearances. The biggest ways that you get denied, honestly, are just if you have some kind of serious background issue, like a huge crime, not just like smoking marijuana once, but if you have like a huge crime that happened relatively recently, or like something that really makes you a national security issue, then that could be a problem. Or being dishonest about stuff that's smaller could be a problem. And so just keeping in mind whether or not you're the kind of person who's probably going to be able to land a security clearance. That's going to open up a lot of doors for you, differentiate yourself from the competition. Whereas, like, unfortunately, if you're not a citizen of the country that you're living in and working in, this is going to be a lot more of a challenge. Or if you have some significant background issues, then that could be more of a challenge. So do your research on this as well. Also, like whether or not defense is the kind of thing you're going to want to work in. But if you're going to work a job that will get you a security clearance, then that's going to differentiate yourself a lot in competition for future jobs. And then just think about, yeah, like I mentioned, in what way is whatever you're building going to be utilized? Do you believe in it? Do you believe that this is going to be an important asset to the safety of our country or of your country versus if you believe that it's going to be kind of just used to kill people or something? That's up to you to decide. I'm not saying that I want to feed you a way of thinking about it, but that's just one of the things to consider when determining whether or not to become an aerospace engineer. So at the end of the day, work is work. I know, like, when you go to college, it can just seem like things are super exciting and transitioning into the, I guess, more interesting or fun phase of life. But keep in mind, like, when you have to do something, then the glamour of it kind of fades, even if you still enjoy it fundamentally, and even if you're still thankful for the job. It's not going to be all sunshine and rainbows every day just because you find aerospace interesting. So there will be some challenging days and some boring, tedious tasks and some difficult coworkers. So I do think it's important to not like fantasize about this or think things are going to be perfect just because it seems like you're going to be a fit for this. But if you are a fit for this, by no means should you necessarily discard it as an option. If you find the work meaningful or if you find it interesting and it's going to afford you the lifestyle you want, then that's great. And yeah, definitely things to think about. And so that's kind of what work is. It's not necessarily supposed to be where you take a hobby and use it to fulfill your fantasies. It's more just something to challenge yourself with and keep you occupied and provide the lifestyle you want if the compensation is what's needed for that. And so if aerospace fits you well for these purposes, it may be for you. So I hope you found this video helpful in making your decision about whether or not to pursue aerospace engineering. And if you did find this helpful or if you liked it, I invite you to hit the thumbs up button and subscribe to this channel to continue getting more advice about engineering careers or other careers. And thanks for the view. Thanks for tuning in. Hope to talk to you soon. Bye.